Take your seats, because today we're going to learn about the class of 1989. I have a special guest here, Dom Stavens Sports Cards. He selected the class of 1989 specifically because he has a favorite player in the class. So, Dom, thank you for joining me.
Nah, Kyle, thanks for having me. I love this new series you got going. Big fan of the Hall of Fame, obviously. Me and a mutual friend of ours, Jake, over Legends Never Die, do Cracking Cooperstown as like a monthly podcast and show that the video posts on his channel. And we're kind of Hall of Fame obsessed. So when you reached out to me saying, hey, I have this new Hall of Fame series going on, do you want to be on it? I was like, first, like, awesome, yes, new connection, and talking Hall of Fame is definitely way up my alley. But then you were just like, which class do you want? And you sent me a whole list of all the openings. And I was just like, I got to pick 89, right? Like that Yaz is my baseball card hero and someone that I collect heavily and love his story. And obviously as a Red Sox fan, I love his contributions to the game. So it was a no-brainer for me. And it's not just Yaz in this class. There's a couple other really strong baseball lifers and people that had a real impact on the game. So I'm happy to get into it.
Agreed. It's not the largest class, but it's also not the smallest by any means. There's 4 great individuals that were inducted in 1989. So yeah, I'm also excited. I'm glad you picked this class. One of the players in it, I actually picked up a decent card of his since we decided to do this class, and it just kind of happened to work out that way. So excited to show that as well. Well, without further ado, let's kick it off here. So the class of 1989 was four individuals. Al Barlick was the umpire. He started off he was born on May 2nd, 1915 in Springfield, Illinois. He became an NL umpire for 28 seasons. He missed 4 seasons total. Missed 2 due to World War II, where he was in the U.S. Coast Guard, and missed 2 later in his career due to heart problems. He made his debut on September 8th, 1940, during a doubleheader at Shibe Park. Fellow Hall of Fame umpire Bill Clem was unable to go due to an ankle injury, and they subbed in Al Barlick. He umped 7 World Series and 7 All-Star games. He was known for a booming strike call, so he's just your stereotypical, strike. And he had some pretty famous games he was a part of. So he was the first base umpire during Jackie Robinson's MLB debut. He worked the first game at the Houston Astrodome. He worked the final game at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, and he worked the first game at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. He was inducted via the Veterans Committee in 1989, and he only has 1 playing days, or umpire days card, to my knowledge, and it is the 1955 Bowman. Classic set. Features a lot of Hall of Famers. Features a lot of umpires, which is really unique. And yeah, has the colored wood grain TV border, and yeah, just a great card. So, Al Barlick is one of the greatest umpires to ever do it. He did at post career. He did become an umpire scout. And then he, I believe, passed away in 1995 pretty suddenly. So Um, yeah, that is Mr. Al Barlick.
Yeah, I love those 55 Bowmans. That set is just awesome. Big fan of the dark border, especially not apparent to the lighter border that some of the other ones have, which that one has the nice dark border.
Yep.
And I definitely need to get some of those 55 Bowman umpires because like half the umpires that are in the Hall of Fame, it feels like have a card in that set. But Al Barlick, fantastic piece of history, and that's something that the Hall of Fame has tried to consider more of too, with their recent reshuffling of these era committees. And it's coming up this December. They will be voting on the managers and contributors and stuff because those guys get completely overshadowed compared to the backlog in the player pool. And they're just as much about the history of the game as any of these players have been. So glad to see Al Barlick getting his love. And this same Veterans Committee ended up electing Al Red Schoendienst. And he was born in Germantown, Illinois on February 2nd, 1923. And this guy, I already knew before doing this research that he's a baseball lifer. This is just one of those guys that he just loved the game, was around the game for a very long time. But I didn't realize how much it started from his background. Growing up in Illinois, his father was a catcher. And 3 of his brothers ended up playing minor league baseball as well. So he came from a family that was very baseball focused and minded that way. And it was something that was totally in his background. He had dreams and aspirations of potentially playing baseball professionally. And he was in an amateur league, ended up getting on a milk crate ride over to the Cardinals. This was when the major leagues got kind of stripped from a lot of talent during World War II, and they were holding public tryouts. And him and a couple buddies went up to St. Louis to try out, not thinking they were going to make it, but they were like, hey, we get to go to a big league ballpark, see some big league players, and get this opportunity. And he ended up getting scouted and signed, and he agreed that, hey, this is going to be something that I'll try for a couple of years, and if it sticks, great. If it doesn't, also great. Like I have my whole life ahead of me. Ended up sticking, of course, as
kidding.
Ended up having a very long baseball career. When he debuted in 1945, he was a shortstop by trade, but they had him playing in left field to cover the tracks of Stan Musial, who was serving in the military. He ended up leading the league with 26 steals as a rookie, batting .278. It was the one and only time he led the league in steals, and it was his career high in stolen bases. But Red Schoendienst ended up his second year really taking in a stride when he found his home at second base. When Stan Musial came back from the war, he became an all-star for the first of 10 times and became a real leader in the clubhouse and just a true professional at that position, a stalwart for many years in St. Louis before later getting traded to the Giants and then to the Braves as well, where he helped the Braves win the 1957 championship as well. So ended up winning in 46 with the Cardinals, 57 with the Braves, just a winning player that wanted to really hang around. And something that was interesting was after his Braves tenure was up, he had a shoulder injury that ended up impacting. That's part of the reason why he didn't serve was because of a shoulder injury that he had. And that ended up impacting his time later on in the 50s with the Braves. That shoulder injury was part of the reason how when there was expansion in the early 60s, he was able to list himself as a coach with the Cardinals to avoid being sniped by the other teams. And then he would come back and start playing in the middle of the summer as like a player coach or a guy off the bench as a utility guy at the end of his career, and ended up sticking around as a coach on the 1964 Cardinals that ended up winning the World Series, and ended up managing the Cardinals for a few years after that. It was not looking like it was going to be super prosperous his first couple of years as the manager in the big seat. But after trading for Orlando Cepeda and all these different guys that came in, the 67 Cardinals ended up breaking Carl Yastrzemski and the Red Sox hearts, winning the World Series. So he won as a player as a coach and as a manager, all within a very short period of time, which was really, really impressive. And he's just someone that is baseball embodiment, because even after his managing days were over, and he went off and was a coach for the Oakland Athletics, came back to St. Louis and worked under Whitey Herzog, helped them make 3 pennants, including the '82 World Series championship. And even though they retired his number in 2009, Red Schoendienst would still show up to the ballpark as a very old man in full uniform and hit ground balls, talk to the players. It wasn't just a spring training thing like you see a lot of these legends now. Throughout the season, he was at the home games. He'd interact with fans. He'd interact with the players. He was always willing to be someone that wanted to just be around the game and soak in the game. The true definition of make them rip the jersey off of you as a guy. And I just have so much respect for him. The Cardinals are my National League team. So I've always had an appreciation for their history. And I think Red Schoendienst is one of those guys that impacted so many different eras of Cardinals baseball that doesn't get the same love that the true stars from those teams do, whether that be Stan Musial, Bob Gibson, Ozzie Smith, etc. But I have a few Red Schoendienst cards to show. 56 Topps is one of the best designs ever. So I have this one there with a sliding play at home plate. Love the cartoons on the back of the 56.
Sometimes with those 56, the background image kind of distracts at times. I think with Shandy's 56, it just adds so much to it.
It really shows about like the hustle, because it's a play at the plate. Him sliding in, a scrappy player. He only hit 84 career home runs. He was not a power guy by any means. But another fun story about him, as I show this 54 Red Heart that I have,
great card,
is Red Schoendienst called his shot at the 1950 All-Star game that he was going to hit a home run to left field. He was going to pull one. And he ended up in the 14th inning hitting the go-ahead game-winning home run right where he said he was going to, laughing around the bases as just a guy that truly just loved the game. And because Jake is a Braves fan and he was part of that 57 Braves, Hank Aaron said that when Red Schoendienst came to the clubhouse, he immediately became the leader of the team and was a big part of the reason why they had the success they did. This is a really fun issue from the Braves. This was on a milk carton.
Interesting.
So these, you had to punch them here. These are the Lake to Lake milk. So this one has been punched for the offer that expired in June of that year. So they had the whole Braves team for Lake to Lake. They did Packers as well. These are just really fun. And Red Schoendienst is like a sneaky Hall of Famer in this set because he's not Spawn. He's not Aaron, not Matthews. Like, there's just a nice picture of him there kneeling, Don Field of Dreams with the bat. Red Schoendienst, like I said, baseball lifer and just like a really great story to read about. He passed away in 2018, I believe. And, baseball and St. Louis definitely dearly misses him, because even in their latest World Series triumph, all the way back in 2011 now, which feels like it was yesterday for me. I don't know about you. Red Schoendienst was still involved with the team back then as a pretty old man. So, really cool there. And I definitely, after doing this research, I don't have a Red Schoendienst autograph in the collection, and I'm definitely planning on changing that soon.
First of all, really well done portraying what he meant to the game and what the game meant to him. That the research you did there and how you told that, I think did him well in honor. Baseball is something where in basketball and football, you see people get into it and then they might stay around the game a little bit, but oftentimes they're not truly involved. Baseball is one where you see guys spend their whole life in it. And Schoendienst certainly embodied that. So really well done. I do have a couple Schoendienst cards. So starting off early, I have the 1962. This is my earliest Shandings. He's funny because, like you just said, he's sneaky in that milk carton set. He's not expensive in almost any set he's in. He's more of a B or C tier, probably more closer to C tier Hall of Famer, by name, not by contribution, and that keeps his prices down. So he also spent a good chunk of his career as a manager, as you alluded to, and that managers never go for go for very much. So here's a 1971. This is him as a manager. And this kind of shows how long he lasted in the game. Here's an 81 Donruss. And then I'm going to go all the way up to 1990. I mean, you're talking, 30, almost 30 years between these two cards.
Yeah, and he had the genes where he looked old even when he was young.
Yep.
So when he got older, until you get to that point where the 90s stuff where he was genuinely a very old man, he looked very similar for a big chunk of his career. Much like many of the, like you said, like the third, fourth tier Hall of Famers of that era, the rookie card is very expensive. The 48 Bowman goes for a lot more than you would think for a player with his baseball reference page. If you notice, when I gave my entire thing for Red Shandings, I didn't talk about any career totals except for the home runs, just for that story. Career totals don't jump off the page at you, but it's really like what the intangibles, the winningness, all those things that came into it. He was a true star in that time at what is still an underrepresented position in Cooperstown in second base. So really great cards there, and it showed like you said, the whole stretch from the 40s when he debuted all the way to the cards in the 90s.
I'm going to add that milk carton issue to my want list because I like the obscure stuff, and that one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Well, the third player, and arguably, one of the more prominent Hall of Famers, especially at his position, is Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench was born December 7th, 1947, 6 years after a date that will live in infamy, a 6-year anniversary of Pearl Harbor. He is 1/8 Choctaw, and is from Oklahoma. He survived a bus crash in high school that killed 2 of his teammates, and that he took that, and made the most of it. He was the 36th pick the same year, in 1965, by the Reds in the MLB draft. 2 years later, in 1967, he was playing in AAA. He hit a grand slam off of Jim Palmer, who became a future Hall of Famer. Jim Palmer would go on to never give up a grand slam in his MLB career. Johnny made his debut in August 1967. In spring training 1968, he famously caught a pitch barehanded from veteran pitcher Jim Maloney. Jim Maloney was shaking him off, wanting to throw a fastball, and Johnny was telling him that the fastball wasn't popping. So he called a fastball and caught it bare hand to prove his point. Ironically, the next year in 1969, Jim Maloney would go on to throw a no-hitter that Johnny Bench caught. He won the NL Gold Glove Award for catchers in 1968, which was the first time a rookie had won the award. He later served in the U.S. Army Reserve during Vietnam. He was a member of the 478th Engineer Battalion. 3 of his Reds teammates were in that battalion as well. Bobby Tolan, Daryl Cheney, and some guy named Pete Rose. Later in his career, for the final 3 seasons, he played corner infield, and then retired in 1983 at the age of 35. Unlike Shane Dietz, I am going to talk about a little of his accolades. He was because he had some. He was a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner, 14-time All-Star, and 2-time MVP in 1970 and 1972, respectively. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer in 1989, and one of my favorite parts about him as a golf fan, post career, after he turned 50, he became a part-time professional golfer and appeared in multiple senior PGA Tour events during his retirement. So Johnny Bench is arguably the greatest catcher of all time, and really, really storied career. His personal life is not something that you should necessarily teach your kids about, but he is certainly one of the best baseball players of all time at his position. So I have a few Johnny Bench cards, not as much as I would like, but I'm going to start off. This is my recent pickup. This is a well-loved 1969 Topps. This is his second year and first individual photo card. His rookie card is a dual player in 68. So this card is pretty popular and has the famous rookie cup, and again has him in a great pose featured by himself. So going forward a little bit, this is where I don't have too many, but I have a 1979 Topps. It's funny, I could tell you what a pre-war card is instantly with looking at it, and I struggle more with post-war at times. So I have a 1980 Kellogg's 3D Superstars. Love these cards.
Yeah, they're great.
My dad passed down a bunch of those to me from his collection. Here's a 1978 Topps. And then 1982 Topps sticker. Then we 82 as well, just regular. Skipped over the 81 record breaker, really great action pose. And then we get into his last card. So he had the Super Veteran, which is really cool because it shows the, I've always enjoyed these cards. It shows the early year photo with the later year. Shane Dietz probably looked the same if he had one of those. Here's an 83 Donruss, which is one of his last cards, and then 83 Topps. One of the, if not the greatest set from the 80s, in my opinion. So yeah, that is my bench run for now. I want more. Eventually I'll probably get his rookie card. I don't focus too much on those, but nor do I like the dual player, but eventually I'll probably add one. And then I want more of his 70s stuff because, again, he's one of the greatest catchers of all time. So
I'd still argue he's the greatest. Yeah. I know some people would say that Pudge Rodriguez wants a word with that conversation, but that man was just unreal, and he revolutionized the game. Like if you look at the all-time leading catchers in WAR,
yep,
before Pudge came around in the modern game and everything, just the way he's like light years ahead of all the other guys that were considered the greatest catchers to play, really speaks to his baseball acumen. And he's got so many great cards. And because of the era he played in, because it's late 60s through the 70s, like relatively affordable for who he is as well. The one recommendation I definitely give, and I didn't bring my bench cards today, I do apologize for that, is the 76 bench is probably my favorite catcher card, if not one of the best catcher cards ever made, with him just standing there in the catcher's gear with the dust blowing around from a play at the plate. It is perfect catcher card for one of the greatest to ever do it.
It's, to me, that is up there, and I don't have one. That is up there with the 71 Thurman Munson in terms of catcher cards and catcher poses, or shots, I should say. I totally agree with that recommendation. And again, you nailed it. Not very expensive.
No,
So
you get those all day.
now, what's ironic is, and this is a true testament to his popularity and his talent. His autographs are certainly sought after. I'm not a big autograph guy, but he's in a lot of modern products, and they are up there in price. He does not go cheap for an autograph. So, really, really great player.
Yeah, I settled for him on a 8x10 photograph years ago because that's another cheat code to get guys cheap during that art show signing era where they would just sign a stack of the same photo.
Yep.
And that's floating out there with good certs on them. But no, he's awesome. And if Chris from Missouri is watching, your barn door is open. But the thing that's great about this class, we talked about Shane Neist and Barlick from the era committee, obviously, where they looked at a certain list of players from a certain kind of era of baseball, and they decided to honor those two guys as contributors to the game. Bench and Yastrzemski were both first ballot guys on the BBWAA. They were both slam dunks. They both got 95-ish% of the vote.
Yep.
What was great about it was that they were both one franchise guys, which in today's era is not unheard of, but it's significantly more rare. Yep. And it's something that we've pointed to on our podcast a few times about some guys that are a little bit more borderline, like a Salvador Perez, that if he only wears the Royals cap throughout his entire career, he never goes anywhere else, which is what it's looking like, that's probably going to help him. And
Jose Ramirez has said that about his career in Cleveland, that he knows he's not going to have the numbers that, the home run totals or, the 3,000 hits to automatically get him in. But being in Cleveland for his entire career will help his case. So totally agree with that.
Yeah. Ramirez, way less borderline to me, but I'm excited for him this year with my metrics because he has a chance to be the 10th player ever this season with 300 home runs and 300 stolen bases. That combination of power and speed is extremely rare in the history of the game, but we won't get too sidetracked.
That's for a future episode in 2035 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that class. But Carl Yastrzemski, still to this day, a lot of people, their first thought of Yaz is compiler. I hear that all the time as a Yaz fan, that the negative kind of thing towards him is compiler. Carl Yastrzemski was born August 22nd in Southampton, New York. He was born to a potato farmer over in New York. And his dad was a heck of a good baseball player. On his 1960 rookie card, you see him listed as a second baseman, and it's because he used to be a double play combo with his dad playing in amateur games on Long Island.
That's awesome.
So that was what he grew up playing, was in the infield. But the great thing about Yaz's career is he had to fill the shoes of Ted Williams in Boston, another great player who didn't end up winning a World Series ring. And at the beginning, it seemed like the pressure of him debuting so young and filling those shoes on not so great Red Sox teams in the early 60s. He debuted at 21 years old. So that's like Roman Anthony now, but with less support. Carl Yastrzemski ended up kind of taking his lumps in his first year and then immediately started becoming a guy who led the league in hits and doubles in his third year, won a batting title, and led the league in walks as a third-year player, 23 years old. And he really started to hit his stride there. But on a personal note, Yastrzemski was looked at by the Yankees because he was a New York product. And the reason that he didn't end up signing with the Yankees is because when they were negotiating with his father about contracts in school and everything, Yaz had a full ride to Merrimack. And the Yankees said, it's baseball or it's school. Like, we're not going to give him time to do either. And the Red Sox were like, he needs to fulfill his responsibilities as a baseball player, but we're happy to give you more money than the Yankees and allow him to continue his education. And I think a big stride there was he got his degree in business administration from Merrimack in 1966 after a couple years from that batting title year that were a little down. And then obviously the 1967 season, which just is completely famous for all Red Sox fans, the impossible dream Red Sox. Look at that smile. He was not known as someone that had a super like lovable, friendly personality all the time. But you could visibly see a difference in his demeanor and his comfortability after he got that monkey off his back with the degree. And in 67, ended up putting together one of the greatest seasons of all time. 12 and a half WAR, led the league with 112 runs scored and 189 hits, 44 home runs, 121 RBIs, and a 326 batting average, led the league in on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, had a 193 OPS plus, 93% better than league average. These aren't compiling stats, folks. That is a ultra prime season where he won Triple Crown and MVP, led the league with 360 total bases, got the Red Sox back to the World Series for the first time since 1946, to lose again to the Cardinals, unfortunately. But that impossible dream team that won the pennant really late in the season against the Twins and did that put Carl Yastrzemski on the map as like, oh, this is the kid who's trying to fill the shoes of Ted Williams, to like, this is the next great Boston Red Sox left fielder. And throughout his career, he followed up that 12 and a half win season with a 10 and a half win season. And that year, which was the year of the pitcher in 1968, he was the lone AL qualified hitter to hit over 300 in 1968 to win his second straight batting title at 301. And something that I'm just going to grind my gears with here on the show, in 1970, talking about his peak here from 67 through 1970, his like best 4-year stretch there, he ended up losing out to Alex Johnson in the batting title by fractions of a decimal. It was laughable because Carl Yastrzemski has 3 batting titles, which already is impressive in its own right. But the fact that he was just literally a hair away from a 4th, and it wasn't like another Hall of Famer that beat him out. It was just Alex Johnson. I think if he won another batting title in that stretch too, people would realize his peak a little bit more in these conversations.
Now, that I don't know as much about that 70 title race, but was that a Nap Lajoie, Ty Cobb situation where there could have been some sort of gamesmanship or scoring errors that occurred?
Yeah, I don't think they were doing as much of that in 1970, but there's like I said, one hair blows a different way.
Yeah,
and Carl Yastrzemski's the batting title. Like, it was that. And he was away from getting that, but ended up winning the MVP in the Triple Crown in 67. He was a Gold Glove caliber outfielder. He has 7 Gold Gloves in his career. Won an All-Star Game MVP, which he went to 18 times. Yes, an 18-time All-Star. Absolutely unreal player. That's still, to this day, there are only 20 position players in the history of the sport that have accumulated more wins above replacement than Carl Yastrzemski. There's only 8 hitters in the history of the game that have got more base hits than Carl Yastrzemski. He's 9th all-time in hits. He has over 1,800 runs scored and over 1,800 runs driven in. He's extremely high on both those lists. He is a true, in terms of statistics and milestones, he's a true, no doubt about it, Hall of Famer that had the peak as well as the longevity. Playing 23 years in one uniform is nothing to sniff at. And it's funny, too, because he went through multiple stretches with some injuries and with some struggles. And even when he got to 3,000 hits, it took him like a week from hit 2,999 to 3,000. It was a running joke of like he's gonna retire with under 3,000 hits. Just like statistician, an artist with the bat, a great fielder, a great all-around baseball player, that when that influx of talent in the 70s came to Boston and we had the Dwight Evans and Jim Rice and Freddie Lynn outfield, he was not selfish at all. He let those young bucks play. He played first base.
Yep.
He did what was right for the team. And he didn't end up breaking the curse of the Bambino. He didn't end up winning that championship like Ted Williams. But the fact that after his peak era, where he got the Red Sox to Game 7 of the World Series, he ended up being selfless, being a team player, and getting them back in World Series contention yet again in the mid-70s. I think it speaks volumes to just the kind of teammate and player that he was. I think we can all acknowledge that baseball is not an individual game. You only get 3 to 5 opportunities a game with the bat, and only so many balls hit your way in the field. One player is not going to win or lose a championship typically, and he's just someone that I so admire. The story, the grassroots where he came from, how he worked himself up, and just being in the spotlight in Boston, in that media market, especially in the 70s and 80s when different tensions started to build up as well. I think he's one of the most misunderstood superstars in this game's history. I had the pleasure of meeting him back in 2018 at a signing. It was one of his last public signings that he did. And he's someone that I've just always loved the story, always loved the cards. And we talked about it before, the era he played in when I was a 12-year-old kid wanting to buy vintage cards. I couldn't afford Ted Williams. Right. But I could go out there and I could get some playing days Carl Yastrzemskis that were vintage, that looked great. And I had trouble kind of just deciding what to bring because Carl is my biggest PC. I showed the rookie card that started it all, my all-time favorite baseball card. I still shake holding this, even though it's not even close to the most expensive card that I own. It's just the meaning of it, the design. This copy is beautiful. Really
great example.
Yeah, what it meant to me as a kid when I was buying those 70s Carl Yastrzemskis as a big rookie card guy. This was the dream card. This is the casket card in many ways. I would get rid of so many other things that are more rare, more expensive, etc. before I ever thought about moving that. I showed the 67 team issue that I have with him smiling. This is a PSA Pop 11. These are pretty tough from Team Photo Packs. Got his 1971, the test issue, the Topps Greatest Moments.
That's awesome.
So these are really awesome. The black borders, these were distributed in the New York area back in 1971 as a limited run of players. Carl Yastrzemski was not a double print, unfortunately, for my wallet, but he is none the same. And these have amazing backs. I am an appreciator of the back of the cards, if you couldn't tell. And at the top of these, for whatever team that it was, it put the Boston Globe for the Red Sox. It would put the Cincinnati Enquirer for a Reds one. It had those specific typefaces at the top with a newspaper-like story article talking about one of the players' achievements, one of their greatest moments on the front of the card. This is a really fun one. Topps Bucks, 1962. These were in their own individual packs with fold, little money cards. There was $1, $5, and $10 bills. Carl Yastrzemski's on a 1 here. And these are just paper thin, real condition sensitive. On the back, it has the Red Sox logo and the American League logo as well. 1964 challenged the Yankees, a Hasbro game. So these are really fun. And were literally part of a giant board game set. Then this is a personal favorite. I love the Action All-Star stickers, which were another test issue. They came in big sheets. And this is the bigger one. This one, I believe, is a PSA Pop 18 of the Carl Yastrzemski that I'm holding here. The larger image, these are pretty tough. Really great images. Sometimes you see them peeled off. Sometimes you see them missing part of it. This one's a pretty decent example. And I have a few Yaz autographs. He's one of the few players that I'm more than okay having multiple examples of. But this was a gift from Bradley Claus here in the community. He gifted this to me 2 Christmases ago.
Wow.
This is the Great Moments Prez Steel set. Just a beautiful image of him, a bold blue autograph, and just, my baseball card hero, man. I could talk about and show Carly Yastrzemski stuff all day, but yeah, just truly one of these guys that was a no doubt about it Hall of Famer, even if you're a small Hall guy, and had an impeccable baseball life. I could do this all day.
Well, you mentioned his dad being a very solid semi-pro ball player, but then his grandson turned out to be a pretty decent ball player as well. So the whole lineage of the Yastrzemski family, he did a great job of carrying that on and then passing it down as well. His son didn't play.
No, his son unfortunately passed away pretty young.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty tragic thing that ended up occurring. But his grandson, Mike, who's now on the Atlanta Braves as an outfielder, has put together a pretty solid career. I collect a few of his cards. And it was really special when Yaz threw out the first pitch at Fenway to his grandson, walked around the Green Monster with him pregame, and then in that series, it wasn't that game, unfortunately. Baseball gods were not that nice that day. But in that series, Mike did hit a home run at Fenway Park.
Yep.
Just really, really special. And between the 2018 World Series, where he threw out the first pitch of that World Series, as well as Mike debuting in a similar time, that's what got him to do the private signing that I went to, as well as one that he did after that. And then since COVID, he's been doing semi-regular private signings where you can mail stuff in. But I hit that absolutely right in terms of the price, because the next year they were asking double what I got to meet him for. And it wasn't even about the autograph. It was just about being able to shake his hand and take a picture and check that kind of off the hobby bucket list. It was a really great day and a good time in my life to have that kind of experience.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I don't have as much Yaz stuff. I will say that when I think of the Red Sox, Ted Williams and Yaz are two of the first names that come to mind, especially of more golden age and pre-war type players. I want to add more Yaz, but we'll get there. I have a Sockers, Yastrzemski and Schelling. What is that, 64, if I'm not mistaken? Yep. That's my oldest Yaz. I also have the 80 Kellogg's 3D Superstars. I have both of his, there we go, 82 top stickers. And then he, along with Bench, obviously, both retired in 83. So I also have the Super Veterans from 83 tops. And then his last card, 1983 Topps base. So, again, I want to add more to that collection. Yours is much better, but it gives me something to aspire to. My post-war Hall of Fame collection is bleak compared to pre-war, and I'm getting more, seeing collections like yours, and it gets me more and more excited to add to each player's run, because there are so many great cards of those guys. But Yaz was a very special player, and the 83 class in general, Barlick, Bench, Shandits, and Yastrzemski, really strong class. A little bit of everything. You have second baseman and Shandys that later became a manager, umpire, and then two of the greatest players at their respective positions of all time. So
yeah, no doubt about it. The class of '89, definitely one that's a personal favorite of mine, but also one that was very impactful for multiple generations of baseball. We talked about it with Shane Dean being part of the Cardinals organization, or Mike Yastrzemski in the lineage. Johnny Bench has been very involved with the Reds over the years. Al Barlick, obviously, you said scouted umpires after his umpiring career.
Yep.
So these are guys that gave back to the game in different ways as well, and ones that I absolutely adore to collect, and it was a pleasure to talk about them with you today.
Agreed. Like you said earlier, Jake, when I was talking to him about the series, he said you got to have Dom on. Dom would be perfect for that series, and he was not wrong. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join me for this episode and talk about the class of 1989. If you aren't subscribed to Dom, I will link his channel down below. Again, the Hall of Fame episodes you do, those are all on Jake's channel, correct?
Yeah. I saved the playlist over on my channel too, but the videos posted to his channel, and then they're wherever else you can get podcasts, Apple, Spotify. You can listen audio only.
So if you guys are if anybody watching is into the Hall of Fame, Dom and Jake, Legends Never Die, do a phenomenal job at not only breaking down the existing Hall of Fame and what makes it, what metrics have been looked at previously, but also looking at future classes and figuring out what the Hall of Fame is going to look like going forward. It's one of my favorite series and podcasts that I've seen in the community. So you guys do a great job with that. But
appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, thank you again for watching. We did the class of 1999 first, 1989 next. We're getting older and older as we go, but we'll see what we do next time. So I believe I hear the bell, so that means class is dismissed. Live free, dream big.